What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo, presented by Pure Options, precision-crafted cannabis. Pure Options, where cannabis meets community. And the Tigers are playing on this beautiful Friday afternoon. They're playing on Saturday and Sunday, weather depending, obviously. And if they score 7 or more runs, you get a free ProGrow 8th with a purchase of $40 or more. The next day, use the code TIGERS. Or anytime you're at any Pure Options location, let them know Couch and the Roo sent you. And if you spend $50 or more, you get a free 8th of ProGrow. Terrific in-house brand. Just let them know Couch and the Roo sent you. It's a good deal, and you'll get to try them out. We appreciate it. They appreciate it. Also, our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. I'm back on the Premier League this weekend. I'll give you that in a minute. I've got some good stuff, which means it'll lose and probably play the opposite, fade me pretty quickly. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Hey, man.
I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
What's going on, buddy? I'm excited about the NFL draft, huh?
Yeah, big Penix energy, you know?
I know. It makes me laugh. All of the month leading up to the draft could be the worst, analysis, and you hear everybody's takes on the draft, and then last night, Penix goes 8 overall. It's just like, what is going on? No one knows shit. I don't know shit. You don't know shit. So why do we waste our time breaking down 7-round mock draft?
Well, I think the Penix was obviously a surprise, but I think a lot of teams, and not that that he went high because somebody could have gone, but that he went to the Falcons.
Yeah, with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that because we got some groovy donut Twitter questions as we get into those on the whole situation with Cousins and Penix, and I have my opinion may not be what everybody's is.
Boy,
yeah,
contrarian couch.
Yeah, a little bit there. But yeah, no, I think there are two types of mock drafts, really, right? And I think this is the problem. There's the mock drafts and what people think should happen based on their evaluations of players. Yeah. But I almost prefer the mock draft that's insiders who maybe even don't know the sport as well, but know what teams are thinking, because those are the more accurate ones. If I want a prospect list, that's a whole separate skill set. You
want guys that play now.
What do you mean? No, what I mean is I want
you
guys.
Don't want prospect guys.
No,
I guess I don't know what you're talking about.
Totally, Jesus, we'll fix this in post. All right, so here's the deal. Some people say these are, if you want a prospect list, like these are the top 100 NFL prospects in the order in which I think they are, that's one thing. Or if you think so-and-so is going to draft so-and-so, they're the top player, and I think this guy's the top player, so he'll go here, that's fine. What I'm more interested in is the insider journalists who talk to the teams and say, this is my mock draft. But
teams aren't going to talk to those guys.
Some of them do. They do, and they have a sense of it, and at least have a better sense of what's going on around based on reporting, based on where things are going, not based on your analysis of the player, because that's what matters for the actual mock draft.
It just seems that they play those guys. Teams are not going to tell a certain insider some
sometimes
information,
they do.
right?
Some of those
insiders are going to tell everything. They need to get stories and shit generated.
No, sometimes they're pretty good. They know how to work this. There are a few guys who are really good.
Names then.
Yeah. The Daniel Jeremiahs of the world. Those guys are pretty good. Pretty good.
Ian Rappaports.
Some of them are good. Some of them aren't. And anyway, all right. Before we get into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions and some really good stuff, including fantastic Groovy Donuts Donut of the Week this week that we'll get into later. What we are betting this weekend presented by the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and Firekeepers Casino, a great place to swing down to just off I-94 in Battle Creek any weekend, any week, any time that you want the in-house sportsbook experience at Dacey's Tap Room and Sportsbook. Jason, you betting anything this weekend?
I guess we should play this, right?
For the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
I don't know. I've been pretty shitty at baseball so far this year, Graham, but Tigers versus Royals. The Royals are 16-10 right now. I think I might have to sprinkle a little bit on some of these baseball games. But other than that, I don't know. Did you bet on the draft?
The only thing
faded the draft.
The only thing I did on the draft is I threw over 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round into a parlay because it was like minus 450. So it wasn't good on its own, but it was like I threw it into a parlay that still goes like Leeds has to win on Friday afternoon and the Celtics have to win at Miami tonight. And then 4.5 quarterbacks, which already
so is that what, like a loose change parlay they call those?
Yeah, it was like just
one?
throw a little. I just wanted a little something on the draft. I did not do Jordan's thing. Did you do Jordan's?
I did.
Okay,
I donated. I call it donating because I suck at it. I'm not an NFL draft guru.
I really wanted to, and I just didn't have the time yesterday to put it because it's a time consuming exercise. It's a lot
Very
of fun,
much so.
But it takes a while.
Yeah. Great contest. Yeah.
Yeah. He does a fabulous job. 100%. All right, so what I am betting this weekend, and I've had a rough Premier League run, but I've started to get some things back with Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace playing phenomenally, has their top 2 players healthy, getting things out of their striker, new manager, great vibes late in the season, unbelievable vibes late in the season, and the market has not caught up with them yet. They're plus 242 at Fulham. I like them at minus 125 at on plus half a goal. So if they just wind up tied, you win as well. There's probably a good, the draw no bet's a good play. Crystal Palace is a good play right now. I just think the market's not there yet. It could go wrong, but that's a good bet either way. Kind of like Wolverhampton at home against Luton Town. I know Luton Town's got a lot to play for. Wolverhampton's a little beat up, but I think I kind of like that. I just got a gut feeling there as well. And if you're going to take a long shot this weekend, who isn't more checked out than Manchester United? Take Burnley plus 407 on the money line at Manchester United. There's a lot of variance there. Who knows what's going to happen with Man U? I kind of like that sprinkling on the money line there. But Crystal Palace right now is the absolute play this weekend. That is what we're betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Enjoy the sign-up promos. Let us know what you think. I think you'll enjoy. And if you're going to give your money away to a gambling company, might as well do it in state.
What a way to put it.
Absolutely. All right. You ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions? I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
Yeah, man. Eric Schultz up first, of course. When Izzo talks about not upsetting the apple cart in regards to a center, is he more concerned with doing something that might lead to Kohler or Cooper transferring, or more concerned with upsetting Booker?
This is a good question. I think there are probably layers to it. And Booker is one that, like, you can add somebody and tell Xavier Booker, you're a 4-man. This just doesn't matter. You're going to play the 4. Those other guys are centers. You're the 4. So
don't coach my team.
Don't worry about that. I do think there have been some delicate things in the past with Booker, in terms of playing time, in terms of who they might bring in terms of making sure. I do think there have been some delicate things there. I don't know, though. I think with this particular case, he's more concerned with like Kohler or Cooper, especially probably Kohler jumping in the transfer portal. And one of the things you could also see is May 1st, the transfer portal closes. That doesn't mean you can't sign a center after that or another big man, but nobody else can get in the portal. Now, again, if you're trying not to upset the apple cart and you wait until your players can't get in the portal to do something like that without talking to them about it, that's not great. That's like drafting Michael Penix without telling Kirk Cousins. Not ideal. But I do think it's probably layered a little bit. He's trying to keep all 3 in-house and make sure he does that without pissing any of them off.
Dominic next. Graham, you really have the balls to say you hope the fan base has learned to not overhype players, and you hope Izzo has learned? You're not serious, bro. I've got Watergate tapes of Ebling's finest with a sprinkle of Deep Throat Couch. You guys literally do this shit.
There's a level of fairness in this comment.
What did Jack say about Foster Lawyer?
Yeah, I mean,
he's shooting.
Yeah, and there were the questions about whether there was room for Foster and Cassius to start together and all that stuff was great. And Brian Lewerke running the greatest offense known to man on Michigan State's 2018 team. People have written things that have been inaccurate, and ridiculously so, and I might know some of them. So yeah, I'm with you, Dominic.
Nate Rhodes, did the Lions have a successful night one of the draft? I think they did, right?
Yeah.
You mean as like a whole, as like the city of Detroit as well? Eminem came out.
Well, no,
Roger Goodell's the whitest person alive. I mean, it's.
I think he's talking about Terrion Arnold, the corner.
Sure, but I'm saying everything.
Everything
trading up to get the pick. The crowd was great, even though there was fake fans there. But
what do you mean fake fans?
Well, dude, the NFL puts fake fans
Yeah,
there.
I don't know.
They hand. Dude, you're telling me Miami Dolphin fans don't even go to games, let alone traveling to Detroit, and they're all in the front row like, woo, yeah, Marino.
People go nuts when they draft an offensive guard they never heard of. Yeah, there is some weirdness.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no,
dude, the draft is one of the most boring fucking things on the planet. I can't imagine why people go to that shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't go.
No,
I wouldn't stand in a pack of people. Like it's up there with like, why would you go to New York, Madison? To what's it called? Where the ball drops.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
So I should have said Halloween.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve.
Fuck that up.
And Times Square is what I was looking for. Times Square, where the ball drops. To stand around. Like what I always think about when I see these massive seas of people that I would never want to be a part of.
COVID.
No, where do you go if you have to pee?
Right.
Like if you got a beer and you're enjoying it, like, well, yeah, how what is the bathroom situation and how is it okay to enjoy the night? Because if you have to pee, it ruins the night. Then you don't get to enjoy the draft. I would like to, now, like all the people who were down there, they may give you some bullshit today about how much they enjoyed it. They did not. Every one of them should begin it, other than I really had to pee and it ruined the night. That's the way the whole thing should begin for all 275,000 people. I don't see the nearest bathroom being that close to most of those people, and I don't know how that was at all enjoyable. I don't get it. It was on TV.
And there's 10 minutes in between picks or whatever. It's like, what do you do when your team draft? Like you travel that far. Let's say you're coming from Miami and your team drafts an offensive
a lot of those people
were
Detroit.
Turn around and then what?
But a lot of those people are Detroit people.
Sure, but I'm just talking about the ones that were on camera.
I'm talking about all of them. I love going down to a Tigers game in the city of Detroit for an event. I'm proud of Detroit. I'm proud that it looks great on TV, and it did. But I would have zero desire. Like you would have to pay me to go to something like that.
Yeah,
you pay me a sizable amount, and be okay with me peeing in a cup and then pouring it on the ground.
Gross.
Or just peeing on the ground.
You might as well just cut out the middleman there.
Right. I don't know why I said
cup,
that. Yeah, it was not great.
Nate Rhodes next. Can those who are concerned about this
we didn't really answer the last question, though. Did you like the pick, I should say?
Oh, I love the pick, yeah. Absolutely. Trading up and getting another Alabama guy.
Well,
everybody is glowing about the guy. Like Nick Saban's wife loves the guy. I mean, I don't know. It's just a great story.
Well, and the other thing is, because of the run on quarterbacks and offensive players, all the defensive players had higher grades than where they got drafted. So you got a guy, and plus you trade up. I mean, you got a guy who's a top half of the first round grade who you get at 24, and you trade up a little to get him to get a corner that should be able to start right away, plug and play. I love it. Love it.
All right, Nate Rhodes, can those who are so concerned about this irrelevant Connor Stallions controversy just fake their credentials and research yourself? I'm tired of hearing y'all whine about not finding anything out. Go do it yourself then.
In fairness to them.
Let's go do it. Let's go investigate.
In fairness to them, right. It is literally my job and other journalist jobs to do this sort of work, especially sports writers in this state. I do think there is a difference in the level of passion for this story.
Yeah, but do you want to know about it, though? I mean, it is pretty mesmerizing, the story.
I know it's him. My biggest question now that I'm most curious about is behind the scenes why it took them so long to just admit it.
Right.
Because I don't care that much that it's him. I guarantee you, like, at some point, as I'm working on this, I'll ask Haller about it, Alan Haller, and I guarantee you Alan Haller does not think about this at all. He does not. Like, people are like, we had a hot take the other day about Alan Haller should not allow them to play CMU until they fire all CMU's employees, right? It was like, and I guarantee you he has not thought about this. It's just not, it's just hits different.
Maybe when he's smoking some pure options, flower, maybe a pre-roll or something, he's going like, man, that Stallions thing's pretty funny, huh?
But that's what he's thinking. It's funny, right.
But it's ridiculous, and people want to find out because we're bored, and sometimes there's not sports shit on, and we have random thoughts. So why wouldn't we?
It's a story that needs to be updated without question.
Sure.
And if you are one of those people where it's ruining your weekend, Pure Options is here for you. I'm telling you right now, just swing by a Pure Options location, Detroit, in Michigan. They have one in Mount Pleasant. If you're up there investigating Connor Stallions yourself, swing by Pure Options and let them know Couch in the Rube sent you. Spend more than $50. Again, you get a free eighth of Pro-Grow and a great in-house brand, and let them know we sent you.
All right, Nate Rhodes. When are you going to have a chat with Izzo to talk about the offseason moves and what he is thinking? And from Travis Maynard, Graham, we look to you as our beacon of truth and reason. I'm an anxious mess over the portal. What's stopping you from just asking Tom if they're done now? Tom's my cousin. I have ways of finding out myself, but I won't use them. What's your excuse? We need you, Graham.
Yeah, I'll probably talk with him next week, or I'll try to next week and reach out to him. Might wait till after May 1st so the story doesn't change on me.
Well, your family members, Nate. Like, go talk to them.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll reach out next week and
send them a text.
Yeah. No, it's there's nothing stopping me. It's about the timing of doing a Q&A with him and getting the best stuff. And I mean, Izzo is somebody that he's very accessible. I could text him today, and it's graduation, so I might not get him today. But most days you could text him, and he'd probably get back to you. But it's not something you want to do, like, every day. Like, hey, what's the latest on the transfer portal? By the way, I got some donuts. So, it is one of those things it's very much on the radar. I'm going to try and, do a story on that as much as he'll share and where his head is, hopefully next week.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So
Jarrett, next, what would you say to all the Georgia people I was with that screamed in madness when Michael Penix was chosen?
I didn't hate it. And I'll tell you why I didn't hate it. It has nothing to do with the situation. They screwed up the situation. Why are you paying Kirk Cousins as much money as you paid him?
$100 million guaranteed.
Right. And really it's a 2-year contract. That's what's guaranteed. So you're paying him for the next 2 years. You're getting an older quarterback who's probably the most maybe the most game-ready NFL guy out of the college game.
24, right?
Yeah. Again, quarterbacks play for a while, and you're not worried about that as much. If you had one more year on Cousins' deal, I'd have less of an issue in the fact that they just signed him. And, like, you did this sort of – you created bad vibes by not letting him know. Like, I don't think he would have signed with you
but
if he'd
see,
known this.
I think that you're right. It's okay, but just why did you pay Kirk Cousins so much? I think even Kirk Cousins was like, are you guys for real?
I think that – yeah. And I
think if they wouldn't have paid him so much, we would be more okay with this, right?
Or if you draft Drake May, and obviously Drake May went earlier, but he's a guy who's 21 years old.
Right.
Who, and you're going to sit for a couple years, and you're trying to do the Aaron Rodgers thing or whatever. That's a little – this seems a little different, and this seems like a guy that maybe he would have been gone because other people liked him soon after. I don't fault them for drafting him as high as they did. I like Michael Penix. I think he's the best pure passer in the draft. I think if he stays healthy, he's going to have a really good NFL career. And the other thing about Kirk Cousins is if the goal is to be competitive right away but ultimately win a Super Bowl, and I've talked about this with Jared Goff and my questions about him, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. So if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, you had to get another quarterback, and they felt like they needed – the question, again, to me is why even sign Kirk Cousins in the first place. But you want to be competitive right away while you develop a guy and you think you can work it within your cap, fine. But this is always my concern about the Lions. Like, I think Jared Goff, the way he was playing at the end of last year, is better than Kirk Cousins in certain ways. But that is my fear, is that, like, you get to the Super Bowl and bad Jared Goff shows up, or there is a ceiling to him that is just south of getting you to the promised land, and you waste your window living in the Jared Goff era. That's how I feel about Kirk Cousins. So when you draft somebody else to try to raise your ceiling, I'm 100% good with it.
Andrew Gauthier, your thoughts on the Lions' round 1 move? I like the fact that Holmes is willing to move up to get his guy, and it would appear that the defensive backfield is much more secure now. I think what we have now is a clear upgrade from last season. Oh, by far, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's going to come in right away and play every day. The team already loves him. The city loves him already. So it's just wild to see Alabama guys and players happy to be in Detroit. It's just a great feeling.
Yeah, and it was interesting listening to St. Brown talk, and we haven't even talked about the contracts earlier, and I took some flack because I said they'd never be able to sign St. Brown. But, when he was talking earlier in the week about how he didn't want to come to Detroit when he first heard his name.
Yeah.
And now it's like the perfect deal. He would have paid for this experience, how great it's been. And you just feel that people feel the good vibes with Detroit. I mean, last night helped. You got all these, hundreds of thousands of people there who are in it with you. But then you're coming to a winning culture, a place that, starting with Hard Knocks and now the winning, people I think see as a good place.
A winning culture.
Just
weird to say.
It is
great.
It's unbelievable. And then you just start to look at the back. It is amazing when you add a piece like a competent corner that you think he'll be. It's amazing what that does to the overall defensive backfield. My only concern, and always, is most of these guys get hurt. He'll be lost for the season by week 3, so I wouldn't play him till week 10. But that's my own deal.
And it's amazing mentality to have as a fan to actually trust a GM, because I know that there's some younger people that listen to the show never got to experience the Matt Millen era, maybe the Martin Mayhew kind of era, just the Bob Quinn era, which was, I guess you could say equally as bad. But it's just nice to not have to. I'm not going to sit there and break down Brad Holmes' draft. All right, let's do it. Let's run it. He's going to probably snag 3 guys that can play right away out of the next couple days of the draft. So,
and you're going Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis as your corners, Brian Branch, nickel, Kirby Joseph, Melifonwu at safety. They've got a couple of decent backup corners.
We freaking love you, man.
I knew I saved that for a reason.
It's a good, it's a good defensive backfield. I wouldn't play them till week 10 because otherwise they'll all be injured. But I think it's a good defensive backfield.
Next one, Andrew and Gavin Haas and Kurt Wisniewski. What would you want to see from the Lions in round 2, and who will they select? I'm hoping we make some moves to shore up the defensive line and perhaps build some depth along the O-line.
Is there any position or player or anything like that? Do you want them to take a quarterback?
A pass rusher of some sort. I love the offensive line picks. I know that we've always goofed on, they're just big oafs, but to draft, especially in the top 10 picks, knowing that you're going to have this mountain of a dude just protecting your quarterback, and I don't know, for like a decade to 10 to 15 years, I like drafting offensive linemen. So hopefully they shore up both the offensive line and the defensive line. And by the way, a missed gambling opportunity. I mean, how did we not see Harbaugh drafting from Notre Dame? Like he's, you knew he did a whole speech when he was in San Diego at like a round table about how much he loves the offensive line. Why would we not hammer Chargers taking an offensive lineman?
Totally blown opportunity.
God damn.
We should have had Harry on. If we'd had Harry on earlier in the week, maybe we would have seen it. My head wasn't in the right.
Did he bet that?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but we would have talked through it at least and maybe come up with that. I want them to take swings. Like, again, get the best value you can late in the draft or as the draft goes on, and try to get guys who wind up as high value guys. Holmes has done an amazing job at getting impact players in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds, including
and guys
Sam Brown.
that mentally want to be there and they're going to buy into that. That's what's great about the locker room. Everybody's buying in and all that shit.
Yep.
Nate Rhodes, are the Lions going to make a splashy, fancy moves the next 2 days of the draft?
Do you think there'll be a trade? Do you think they'll do a quarterback that everybody goes, oh, what, a late-round quarterback?
I mean, would that be a splashy, fancy move, though? I mean, I'm not sure what move they could make and why Brad Holmes would want to do that.
And here's the thing. Most of the time, you don't know it's a splashy, fancy move if it's in the next 2 days. So when St. Brown got drafted, I knew it was a great pick, but most people didn't.
Is that right?
I find my Twitter. I watched his film.
Find your Twitter? Okay.
Find my tweet. I compared him to Greg Jennings instantly. He's already surpassed Jennings, but I thought right away, I saw the way he moved, and I was like, that's a guy I've covered. And I said it right away. And
so you said he was like was Greg Jennings a Hall of Fame wide receiver?
No, but he was a really good Pro Bowl wide receiver in his day. No, he's been better. I mean, he's better. He's surpassed even my expectations for him. And I'm glad. I think they had to pay him. Do you think they had to pay him? I think they did.
Oh, absolutely. He's your core glue guy, and if you don't, what are you doing?
Right. That's the thing. You do. I mean, people do need to. Everybody's getting excited, and they should. And you have to pay Sewell. You're 100% going to pay Sewell. Yeah. You do have to understand that there's only so many guys you can pay, though, and at some point, you can't pay people anymore.
Well, no shit. That's why there's a salary cap. Yeah. I know that, but you got to pay guys like that. Those are your foundation guys. And if something happens to him and he gets broke off and he's injured or something, and we have to break him off, so be it. You just got to keep the culture going.
That's what I wish exists in the NFL more than anything else. Is I don't mind the salary cap, and I don't mind if a guy gets hurt during the season, he gets paid for the rest of the year as a contract. But if a guy is injured, he doesn't count against the cap. That's what I wish was there. Like, you're still paying him, but he didn't count against the cap. That way, there'd be less risk of paying somebody when if they get injured, you're paying dead weight. In other words,
man, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Kurt Wisniewski, will any Spartans besides Keon get drafted?
My guess is no. maybe late, but my guess is no.
And Keon Coleman still counts as like a Spartan getting drafted, or no?
We did 2 of his 3 years in Michigan State. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, like, it's tricky. Like, I look at a guy like Illinois. I think it was Kenny Battle played at Illinois, and Northern Illinois sort of claims him because he played a couple years there and he transferred. I think it's to the eye of the beholder. He's hanging around a lot. He's hanging around at MSU quite a bit. I tried to get a hold of him this week to do a story. He did not get back to me. So, but yeah, it's how you
looked
feel.
Right through you.
He looked right through me. It's how you feel about Keon, whether it's in the eye of the beholder.
Andrew Gauthier, do you ever have one of those days where you're working your ass off and can't seem to get anything done? What's your move when that's happening?
I usually come and waste 2.5 more hours doing a podcast. That's kind of my move.
You know what works for me? I have a hard time focusing, so I have brown noise. I play brown noise, or what is the pink noise? One of the noises.
White noise?
Yeah. Well, no, there's different noises for different. If you want to sleep, I think there's like purple noise.
What does
pink
purple noise sound like?
It sounds just like you're on an airplane.
Oh, I see.
It's that kind of sound, and it helps me focus. If I'm trying to, a task is at hand or something, because sometimes I just can't concentrate.
Yeah. Well, I usually do fresh cup of coffee, like splash water on my face, fresh cup of coffee, restart my my focus.
Cup of Joe.
Yeah.
Right?
It's usually my 7th cup of the day, but still it feels fresh.
Black?
Oh, just
Gross.
black. Yeah.
Andrew and Fart Soup next. Given the insane state of flux all college programs are in, with massive amounts of transfers heading in and out chasing the bag, how long before people stop giving a shit about what may turn into this crappy version of minor league football? The only thing tying you to your team is the logo.
Yeah, this is why you don't mess with alternative helmets either. And when the Denver Broncos just put out their new uniforms and they were showing their old 90s helmet, an 80s helmet, which I'm still very attracted to and emotionally invested in, even though I don't care about the team. This is why you don't mess with helmets. Helmets are sentimental. They are what ties people to emotion. Do not do, like, I know a lot of people love the win over Ohio State for Michigan State in 2015, but they wore those dirty brown, ugly helmets. And, like, when that comes on BTN, I guarantee there are people out there like, it doesn't have quite the same emotional kick as it would if they just had the regular. They have classic uniforms. No point in doing that.
But if you wear the classic uniforms for a long period of time, take a chance here and there with an alternative jersey, I don't give a shit.
Just don't have a memorable game when it happens. That you're going to want to replay for years and years and years. To the question though, I think college basketball is in more trouble. But because there's not as much money going in to begin with, and people are getting turned off a lot of places. But there's a lot of this, and the question will become how much people saying they're fatigued by it and sick of it translates to fewer eyeballs on Saturdays. And that's going to the games, that's the gate receipts, that's the TV eyeballs. Because if what happens is you're just annoyed by the off season, but you're still engaged in the season because it's still your team, then I don't it's hard to say what will change. It's a good question. I think a lot of people are starting to care about it less. A lot of people certainly care about the offseason less. A lot of people are annoyed by the transfer portal. I find it less fun and interesting to cover. I think anytime you're a sport, anytime you can't build anything, like it's impossible to build in college football right now. You can get 1-year guys, but are they going to be around a year from now? They can leave. You're going to recruit guys. Are you ever going to get excited about a football recruit? Like, what are the odds? Look at how many guys are leaving in the portal for Michigan State right now. Some of these were big deal recruits that people got excited about. What a waste of fucking energy. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be excited about your team, or if you like this transfer portal stuff, people should like what they like. But we are going to get to a point where it is not even newsworthy when somebody commits. That there shouldn't even be a tweet. That you shouldn't retweet them. You shouldn't acknowledge them. If they're still on the team in year 3, you can celebrate them. But who the F cares if they – and I'm talking football here especially. It's –
Don't you think it's going to start happening, like maybe next season people are going to stop paying attention less to recruiting stuff?
I think
I don't really pay attention to it.
I think they already are, but there's a whole industry that makes a living off this right now, and so they're
it's so
still
different
pushing
than it used to be. Though.
Yeah, right. It's well, and
like I saw the fun in it when it used to be fun when you'd see the stupid, the 5-star guys and all that stuff, and they could actually have a chance to come to your college and not have a top 18 teams or something.
And you you dream about what they would become for your school.
Right.
Now it's like, well, but you better be able to keep the NIL bag year after year. Like one of the things that's, you look at basketball right now, and Kansas, the roster that they put together. In Indiana, they need some shooters, but it looks like they're getting another one in Luke Goody. Kansas put together a loaded roster. The Blue Bloods are going to really thrive, I think, in this. The more I look at it, the Blue Bloods are, because they've got the interest, the money, the donors who care, and it used to be, if you were trying to take a step as a program, you tried to hire the right coach who could recruit the guys and elevate your program into a stratosphere you hadn't been before. That was the dream. And maybe you'd get something like exactly what Michigan State had. You get some class with Mateen Cleaves and a group with Charlie Bell and Antonio Smith. But now it's not just a test of your coach. It's a test of you, the fan, the intensity of you, the intensity of your donor base. Because if you can't afford to play at this level, then it's going to be really hard to keep up. Now, in basketball, you just got to have 5 guys. So doesn't.
But are you going to travel to watch your team if you have an NIL budget of under $1 million? Like, are you going to sit there?
Are you going to keep
times
carrying?
where you used to travel because you had a group of guys that you liked watching and maybe something you could catch lightning in a bottle? But if are you going to sit there and spend your hard-earned money traveling to watch a team when you know they don't have the NIL to even compete with anyone?
It's a good question.
Sucks.
Watch Wisconsin and Iowa. Watch what happens to these places.
Well, Iowa just lost a kid to St. Bonaventure, was it?
They lose another one?
I think so. I was like, a kid from Iowa's I don't know. So it's just Wild West.
Yeah, it's. I am not as invested in it, and I know a lot of people are annoyed. I don't think this is exactly the system that's going to be in play for very much longer. I think there's going to be things that are in house. I think athletes will eventually have contracts and they'll be employees because this is not sustainable. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous right now. I'm not anti-college athlete compensation, but nobody in the world exists in this sort of free agency.
But didn't anyone have
contracts.
an idea before we got all wrapped up into this shit? I mean, does anyone want to sit down before we let it get bad and then try to fix it after the fact? How about you try to fix it before the shit goes down?
Right, because we loved the industry the way it was before. We loved the oppressive system that it was before, and this is a correction, and this is the harsh correction to it. The NCAA stuck by like punishing people for having $40 dinners paid for by agents, like they were some moral compass of the world. This is the correction, and the problem is the system worked. The system we loved wasn't right. This system won't work long term. It won't work. It will not work. It will not be something that's sustainable. It will not be something that sustains interest in the sport. It will not be something that donors are willing to just pay for blindly like this. So we are going to wind up in a situation with contracts and with employees, and it's going to be very different, and we'll find out if we love it, and that will determine whether the sport survives.
Travis Maynard, I'm completely exhausted with the state of college sports, and I'm just a fan. Coaches have to keep recruiting their own guys year-round. There is no rest. Where does it end, Graham? What has to happen for rules to be made? This just isn't fun.
Well, part of it's in the courts. The NCAA has turned into cowards, and they didn't, and a lot of people won't speak up for what they think is best for the sport or right for players because it sounds like you're anti-player, and people just got to stop being cowards about that stuff. They can't win a court case right now. I mean, to be honest, if me and Jason and 3 other listeners wanted to start a college basketball team that played in the Big Ten next year, we'd probably just take it to court. No, the NCAA is not going to fucking stop us. We don't need a college. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but nothing is. The NCAA is not winning anything. There's very little pushback. And the one thing I think they didn't need to do that could have made things okay-ish or at least let us get a little better handle on things was not have the one-time transfer rule at all. Like, go the completely other way and really fight that. And if they had done that, maybe things would be a little bit different. But in terms of rules, it's hard to have rules when legally they're telling you can't. And so we're going to have to get to it's going to have to be employment law, and it's going to have to be athletes or employees. And look, there are areas where you're just going to have to be harsher with athletes too. And if players are able to get into the point, like if they're going to be 1-year contracts, and it's a 1-year contract, If a player wants to sign a 1-year contract coming into college, they have to understand at the end of that year, if you don't like them, you can just get rid of them too. Maybe you sign a 2-year, and maybe there's player options like in the pros, but maybe a player comes in and says, I really want to be somewhere. I'm going to sign a 2-year deal with this school. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's not going to be as fun. It's not going to be as good for the fan. The question is, can we get to a place where we all still enjoy it to a large degree? There's a fairness to the athlete. They're compensated, and there's not quite as much movement. Because this sort of movement where you got guys jumping from rivals, from Illinois to Indiana in basketball, from Ohio State to Michigan, when you got just everything that we used to love about the idea of getting to know a player, them being as invested in your school as you were, all that out the window, that's not sustainable for interest, and that's a big problem. And I know there are a lot of national voices out there who don't think it is. They're fucking wrong. They're just wrong. Stop listening to them.
Gavin Haas, is it odd that I like the Penix pick for the Falcons at 8? Is it also odd that I like the Knicks pick at Denver at 12?
I'm not a Bo Nix guy for the NFL. I don't love him.
When they showed the Auburn highlights, I had PTSD for all the money I lost gambling on that fucking guy.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it works out for him. I don't love it.
Sean Payton, it's going to be good for Bo Nix.
Yeah, it's
Bo
a good
Nix
spot.
can ball a little bit. He'll be good in the NFL.
It's a good spot for him. I just don't believe in him as a player. The Penix one, Penix is such a pure passer. It's such a big arm.
But speaking of Sean Payton, though, he did get rid of Russell Wilson, who had a heavy, fat contract that no one thought he could ever get rid of. So with the Cousins thing, meaning, like, is it that crazy taking Penix? And I know Cousins wasn't really injured much before he got injured last year because he played like 16 games a year before that 5 years straight or something like that. So you just got to look towards the future. I just don't think the Penix pick is as crazy as people are saying.
You're taking a guy. First of all, the guy you just signed, and there's a lot of questions about why he did that if you're going to draft Penix. But the guy you just signed, and I don't know their cap situation, they might be able to handle it for 2 years. If you've got young players elsewhere and it's going to be 2 years before you really have to pay some guys, you might be like, we're going to use a lot of our money on Cousins for these 2 years,
right?
And that's okay. He's a 35-year-old coming off an Achilles tear. It's sort of interesting that him and Russell Wilson have both, the two guys from the 2011 Big Ten championship game, have both been sort of replaced at the same time. Like Wilson gets booted from Denver and goes to Pittsburgh and immediately get Justin Fields. That wasn't what he was thinking was going to happen. I don't. It's probably not what I would have done and the way I would have done it. But
well, you wouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins to that high of a deal.
Correct.
You have to give Cousins' agent credit for milking the Atlanta Falcons because I don't know how many people are willing to offer what they offered Kirk Cousins.
And I don't know their cap situation, so maybe it makes more sense for them.
Next one from Gavin Haas. Will Detroit finally stop receiving unnecessary hate after everyone witnessed its beauty yesterday?
I think days like yesterday help because a lot of people watch. And Detroit looked like a place that was desirable. And there are very few events that are more eyeballs.
I saw that, and I'm like, I'm not going down there.
Well, yeah, yesterday didn't help for me.
I don't want to see that many people anywhere, ever.
But the city looked good, yeah. And I'm a Lansing guy, so I've got a rivalry with Detroit. And to be honest, like Detroit is where my pro teams are still. I mean, I grew up as a Detroit fan, so like that's the connection there. But Chicago is my city. Like that's where my friends are. If I'm going to a big city for a day, if I'm going to, I want a weekend. I'm going to go to Chicago. So I like Detroit.
Did you just say you have a rivalry with Detroit?
Lansing.
Like you personally?
No.
Personally?
With Lansing.
Lansing?
I'm telling you what,
beef.
because Lansing would have showed up at 275,000 strong if the draft had been here.
Oh, yeah.
We would have.
Oh, yeah. Sunshine Spartan, will the Penix draft pick be considered great or terrible in 5 years? There's no in between, right? It's either going to be great or terrible.
I mean, the odds are against it being great. That's because the odds of these guys working out. I think there's a chance it's great, but I would, if you have to pick one or the other, although I don't, unless he's really injured, he does not to me seem like he's going to be. It seems like he's going to be a guy who's around the NFL for a while, as at least a serviceable quarterback with a big arm.
If Atlanta didn't miss so hard on Ritter, would that make you feel better? I think just the Ritter situation with the front office too, and just
it's.
Do you trust that?
Yeah.
And why did you overpay so much for Kirk Cousins?
By the way, if you would like to celebrate the NFL draft this weekend, do so with Groovy Donuts. Right? They've got special draft day donuts. They had them this week. I don't know how many they have left, but they also have Available all weekend. Better than draft day donuts. Draft day donuts look great, and they may taste great. But this is one of the highlights of their year. The strawberry cheesecake donut. Available all weekend.
Oh, my God.
GroovyDonuts.com. Place an order or swing on by either location, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. If they've got a picture on their we tweeted it out from our account on their Twitter page. A must stop by for me this weekend. I will
It's
definitely.
two of my favorite things combined.
It really is. We should do more of this. Like the idea of strawberry cheesecake donut is pretty damn genius.
Delectable.
Yeah.
Sunshine Spartan, will the Lions draft a quarterback? Which one? Is there one left? Spencer Rattler?
Be somebody late. I don't know they just drafted one a year ago, so I don't know that you need to do it this year with a guy you still are interested to find out about. I think if you're the Lions, at any team, you should almost always want to have a young quarterback on your roster you want to find out about. If nothing else, he becomes a trade asset. If he's good backup for a couple years before he gets expensive. Like there's nothing wrong with drafting quarterbacks late and trying to develop quarterbacks, and especially if you're a team like Detroit that has a good quarterback, but doesn't have one who's ever won anything at the highest. Well, he's gotten to the Super Bowl, hasn't won anything at the highest level yet, and you're a little unsure about there. But I think they still have that right now. I would not draft a quarterback for the Lions.
Sunshine Spartan, did either of you consider going down to draft? 275,000 people is crazy.
No, not once.
No.
Less so, yeah. I mean,
even last year during that draft, I was like, man, next year it's in Detroit. I mean, like,
and
it's going to be pretty boring.
With all the construction going on, like, I just think I consider that's like a fortress. I have zero desire to go to Detroit right now. Like, nothing, even when there's not, I mean, I don't like construction, and I'm kind of an anti-construction guy. Like, I would rather my wheels fell off my car than have construction. So that's, I'm kind of weird that way.
What a take.
Yeah, but, yeah, I had zero desire to go to Detroit.
So no construction ever anymore?
So I'm a big believer in when you do a construction project, you got to repave roads and stuff. And I get that. But major construction projects like what they're doing and what they did last summer in 496 and what they're doing here in 127, that should be a once every 40 years thing. Never should happen more than twice in anybody's lifetime. That's a pain in the freaking ass.
Like an eclipse.
I mean, get it right and do it right. Be forward thinking when you do it. And once you do it, you don't get to touch those roads other than repaving them for another 40 years. That would be my take. I'm sorry. I'm a little fired up about construction right now.
I didn't know you took it so personally. Maybe Meebe is the MAGA Tom Izzo, a loser riding the coattails of his name. How annoyed is the real Tom to have fake Tom running for office? I
bet you Tom Izzo doesn't even know about this.
There's a MAGA Tom Izzo?
We wrote about this the other day, and Mike Ellis at the LSJ, to give him props. Yeah, is
his real name Tom Izzo?
His name's Tom Izzo, and he's running for office. Yeah, and it's probably like, what's the movie with Eddie Murphy way back in the day where he
Beverly Hills Cop?
Oh, fuck no, he ran on a dead congressman's name because he had the same name, and he won and got into Congress.
Millions.
I'm not even going to look it up. I don't care.
Oh wait, that was Richard Pryor.
Hold on. Now I want to know. Hold on. Come on. Distinguished Gentleman. Yeah, Distinguished Gentleman. That was it. 1992. 12-year-old Graham loved it.
Thank God. JD, were we too quick to praise Jonathan Smith for keeping MSU's football team together? Or are players now leaving because a coach who holds kids accountable is now at the helm? And from Graham Benito Couch, how worried should I be about players like Andrew DePape and By Job leaving MSU? Both were talented, highly rated recruits. Is it that they didn't fit, weren't producing, or were lured by more lucrative NIL deals elsewhere?
I don't know each of their situations, but I'll start with this. When a new staff comes in, these guys didn't sign up for this. This is part of the deal. It was even before the transfer portal made it easier to leave. I mean, lots of guys left when Mel Tucker came in, and that was, I can't remember exactly the timing of the one-time transfer rule, and COVID changed some things there. But this has happened a lot of places for ages, depending on the coach. It's easier now. More guys are going to do it. But if you came to a place because of a staff, especially for guys like By Joe from, is in Oklahoma, like, he didn't have any ties to this area other than the staff that recruited him and the idea that he wanted to be there. And it hasn't gone all that well. I think he was like on the third team in the spring game. Now, is some of the former players who were on Twitter I think it was Lawrence Thomas and maybe Mark Dell, were saying, it used to be you looked at the depth chart and it was a fight and it was hard work to get to that spot. And you didn't look at the depth chart and you were third on it and you went, shoot, I'm going to transfer. You worked your ass off to get higher. And I do think the level of football overall will go down in college football because more guys will just leave rather than compete and develop and try to win spots. I think that used to be something that happened. And if sometimes you didn't get to be the starter till you were a junior or senior and you battled to do it. So I don't think that's good for the overall level of play in college football. I'll start there. I don't know with each circumstance whether they had NIL deals elsewhere, whether they just wanted something new and to see what was out, what else was there, whether there's any chance at all they'll come back if there isn't something else out there. In terms of too quick to praise Jonathan Smith for keeping MSU's football team together, because I think first of all, it's a cash game largely now. So that's not about Jonathan Smith. That's about you and Matt Ishbia and Steve St. Andre and Greg Williams and anybody who has cash. It's partly about Jonathan Smith and his staff. I do think there are some key guys, the Jordan Halls of the world, Jaden Mangums, guys that real core leader guys on that defense that have decided to stay, and that to me is probably more telling. So I think that was key. If you lost some of those guys, I think it was going to be a bigger deal. Now, a couple of the guys they lost on the defensive line, problematic, and we'll get into those in a second.
Ken Chu, Simeon Barrow, and Derek Harmon aside, are all the football players going into the portal a sign of significant talent upgrades in East Lansing or something to be alarmed about?
It's just transition. It's transactional in terms of trying. Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon are going to get paydays. Those are different types of guys. Those are two guys who have a chance to play in the NFL, and Michigan State's going to feel their loss. Now they're adding some guys in the portal as well, but if you're Michigan State, you also have to think about how long were you going to have those guys anyway? What are you willing to pay in a year you're not expecting to compete for a championship? Like, these are the things you're going to have to think about. Timelines now. When you're figuring out salaries of NIL and all that stuff, who's worth what when? If Simeon Barrow is a guy who's probably going to get, $750K wherever he goes next year, and if you're not willing to, his impact on your program isn't worth that to you, based on the pool of money you have for players, then you let him go. If he wants to go somewhere and win next year, it's hard to fault him too. Now, Barrow's jumped in and out of the portal a lot. He comes from, limited means originally. I don't fault these guys going through a transition that they stuck that through the spring and decided they wanted something else. I understand that people don't like that they signed NIL deals to keep them in some cases, but they didn't get all of that money. Now, did they get some of it in the spring? Probably. But that's the game right now, and a lot of people in their shoes might be making similar decisions.
Sad Spartan X, I heard by Job was being compensated well. I understand his ceiling, but is an undersized fourth string and really worth the money. Crazy times. Give me all the non-Power 5 transfers just looking to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, it's tricky. I'm sure By Job was getting paid okay because that's how you get 5 stars and guys as rated as high as him. The thing is, right now he wasn't performing all that well, and maybe he would have, and maybe that's why they didn't try to compete to keep him. Maybe he realized. I don't know his exact situation. I haven't talked to anybody about him. The challenge is you're going to have fewer and fewer guys who develop when they run from, and it may not be his specific case, when they run from a challenge, from being down on the depth chart. The guy had a lot of talent, and we'll see whether he ever realizes it.
Sad Spartan next. I'm for the 1-year sit-out when it comes to transferring in college sports. You can be paid NIL, but if your current school can't match it, then it must have to really be appealing to leave your current school and sit out 1 year at new school just to make an extra couple hundred. F this shit.
Yeah, to me, that was the mistake. If you had to sit out when you transferred, and I don't think that's a penalty. I don't. You get free college and free swag and NIL, and it just a little bit of a deterrent makes you think about it. If we're going to keep the academic component at all in this, if this is still college sports, and there's an argument that, and I've thought this for years, that major college sports probably shouldn't exist. Like in Europe, they look at what we do here and they're like, wait a sec, what? College football is in the universities? Like, that's insane. There's an argument, and that might be what's coming to bear here, that just the ridiculousness of our system is being put out in front of us right now. So, yeah, it's too bad they didn't they didn't fight for the 1 year sit out, because I think things would have been a little better.
JD next is the transfer portal, the hot new late spring summer sport. I feel like there's so many W's and L's between basketball and football that it's a whole ass sport.
Yeah, if you like it. I mean, I love the NBA offseason, and so I pay attention to it. But there is sort of an order to it. You know somebody's under contract. They signed a length of a deal. They can, there are trades that happen, which they don't control all the time. But, there is. And so maybe this will become something that people do enjoy. And the whole putting a puzzle together every year will be something people get used to, and it's not so bad. I tend to think it won't be, because that's not what made the level of play in college sports is not high enough for people to enjoy it. Michigan State and Michigan basketball, for example, will always be the fourth and fifth best teams in the state of Michigan, behind the Motor City Cruise and the Grand Rapids Drive, who would kick the shit out of them every single year. Level of basketball, level of play in these sports is not high enough without the connection and feeling connected to the players, and the players having a similar bond with fans in their school and all that stuff. So I don't know if it's going to work the same way, but maybe it becomes something people just enjoy, and there's enough that do, and that it's okay.
JD next. Is Izzo ready for the question show to be nothing but berating if he gives Davis Smith a scholarship again instead of getting a portal center?
So what JD's mentioning is at some point this summer I'm going to try and have Izzo on, and we'll do Twitter questions with Tom Izzo. We'll take like 10. Here's the thing. It's not – I'm not going to take like 10 questions that just berate Izzo and have Jason read them.
But they can be moved up a slot if you want to pay for it.
Right. No, we'll have good questions, and they will be you can ask a question about the center. We'll have one there. We're not going to have all 10 about that. Tom, we got 10 questions about why you haven't.
And they're all from Hans Jurgen, this guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Tom.
No, but he's unaware. He's unaware he's even coming on the show at this point.
Tom Lizzo. Izzo has to get a center, right? What happens if Cooper gets injured and can't play? The season is just over?
So I think this is as good a point as any of the other concerns about the center position. There's not a lot of depth there. I think the mistake that would be made in terms of selling the need to get a center to Kohler and Cooper and, maybe a little bit Booker, but when they lose Mady Sissoko, you're not looking to replace them. You're looking to replace Sissoko. Now, if you happen to get a guy who's better than Sissoko, ideally, that's good. But what I mean is there is a chance that they've got a real issue with depth at the center position. You are one injury away in the preseason from really having just one center. Now, you could play Booker there, and that could be a different team, and that may work. But then you've got not a lot of depth at the four. There is not a ton of, for sure, game-ready depth on the interior. And I think they've got to find a way to upgrade as much as upgrading the position as well. You've got to protect yourself there. Just we saw what happened in 2016-17. Now, that team had other issues. It wasn't that great because those guys were freshmen, Cassius Winston and Miles Bridges and whatnot. But they also, were playing a lot of Kenny Goins as a center, and that team was never going to go that far.
Tom Lizzo, the Falcons did not need to sign Cousins if they like Penix that much. Penix is the most game-ready QB. He's Trevor Lawrence age, and he doesn't need years to sit and be seasoned.
Yeah, I don't – maybe a year tops. If you're going to use a pick that high, it seems like you're drafting a starter. You're drafting a guy under 5-year contract guy.
And no one was really talking about Penix being a top 10 pick. I didn't see him in the first round of a lot of mock drafts.
I don't have a problem with them going up to getting a guy when you have a pick that high because you don't think you're going to have a pick that high again, or you're hoping you don't. I don't have an issue with that. If he's your guy, and apparently they were blown away by him, I have no issue with drafting Penix where they did or drafting Penix. Don't really understand signing Kirk Cousins the way they did to the contract they did. And being, if this is a guy that you've just done all this welcome to Atlanta stuff with Kirk Cousins, and just being disingenuous and
Oh,
dishonest.
I'm sure
with
he'll
them.
get over it. It's a business.
It is.
We're not going to sit there and welcome home. I mean, yeah.
But it's still a quarterback. Like, it's still your quarterback. You want good vibes with your quarterback. I mean, that's part of we talk about this with Jared Goff, right? We talk about the idea of how would Goff feel if they went and drafted a first-round pick. It was a quarterback.
But you know
trying to
Kirk
replace him.
Cousins and his mentality. He's going to be good with whatever comes his way. Right?
Maybe.
I don't know. Gramanito Couch, I've loved college football since the first season I watched it in high school in 2007. I love the chaos, the fan bases, each game with an entire 100-year history behind it, characterizing its uniforms, fans, and players. But damn, I hate the current state of college football. Is there any hope?
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's not this. It's that things are going to change and probably change within the next year again, and that it's going to be a different deal. And the question is whether we like it. And I don't know that I will. I mean, it'll be my job to cover it, and it'll be what we talk about on this show.
But what kind of change do you see happening in a year?
I do think you're going to start seeing NIL will come under the school's ability to control it and to decipher it and set up contracts for players. I do think the other thing that could happen in pretty short order is that players become employees. And that's going to change a huge landscape. The other thing that will be interesting is how college sports pays for itself if college football structures things differently, or if you're paying salaries, directly out of the athletic department fund and they cannot afford as many sports. And will people resent football for being what's driven this if half your sports go away? Because does that not feel like what the whole point of college sports was, and the college experience and having an athletic department that has broad-based opportunities and all that? There are going to be people who are very turned off if, Michigan State and all loses 10 sports, and all these other schools lose 10 sports because they can't afford to do all of this. But the reform was needed. This middle part is messy and awful, and maybe this middle part being kind of messy and not as fun will help make the next part, if it's a little cleaner, a little more tolerable.
Gramanito, how honest do you expect Izzo to be when you ask him why he didn't get a center from the portal for insurance or a backstop?
He's usually pretty blunt and honest. The question will be whether he'll talk about it on the record, the other problem is Frankie Fiddler. I don't think he's committed. I don't think he's signed. Has he signed yet? I don't know. I don't know I got to double check on whether he can talk about Fiddler too. That's the other. But he's usually pretty honest about things. If you ask him a question, and the thing about Izzo is he may give you some stuff you just can't. He won't. The off record too. So, or he won't share.
So we shouldn't tell him when he's actually on the podcast.
We just trick him. Be like, hey, Tom, this is just between you and me.
Right.
Yeah. That would
off the record. That's our new podcast.
You could off the record. You could do that once, and then he'd never talk to you again. And
no shit.
But you do it once. Yeah.
All right. Tyler, I can't do a fucking goddamn thing without hearing about the transfer portal or the commercial with Chet Holmgren singing. I don't know which is worse. I pray Chet doesn't become an actor.
It is annoying.
It's the worst commercial.
It's up there. 1-800 Cars for Kids is worse, but it's up there.
Well, this one's a close second.
Yeah.
Clocked in Spartan next. While we beat this portal center horse to death, the only sense I can make of the fact that we are not upgrading that position is that Izzo sees something in Kohler that he's not willing to sacrifice. Period. Would you agree? And from DeUper, is Izzo honestly worried that Cooper and Kohler would leave if he brought in a portal center? I mean, come on, man. What are they going to do? And if they did leave, isn't it addition by subtraction?
So a couple things here. I do think Izzo sees something in Kohler, and it's something that I see a little bit as well. But I think he saw something in Kohler last summer and early in the fall that he really would like to see if it can help his program. I mean, what they were planning to. I think he thinks Kohler was going to win the starting center job. I think they were planning to play through him quite a bit. I think they were going to change their offense a little bit, and I think they may now. I think he is intrigued by having a playmaker at that position that we haven't really gotten to see from Kohler yet. And again, they should have redshirted him. He came in the last year late, And, it was always about, it was getting into shape, it was getting up to speed. The season's already moving. You're just jumping on the train and trying to hang on. He played okay late, but it's never about you. You're just trying to fit in here and there. And it was not really conducive to him ever getting back what they were going to do months earlier when they had. So I do think that exists. Yes. I do think he's also worried about losing those guys a little bit. And the question is who you bring in definitely better. And you've seen guys develop over years previously where by the time they were juniors and seniors, they were good players. And you think who they might be is better than you might actually get. I don't think it's necessarily, if they leave, it's addition by subtraction. I don't think that's necessarily the case unless you got players who are better than them. And maybe that could be. I disagree with how Izzo's done this, or at least how he appears to be doing it. And we don't know where this will wind up. They may wind up with somebody else who helps on the front court. But because I've told you this, I would get somebody who's a rebounder and that could help defend in the post. And I don't know to what degree I'd be willing to spend on them, but I would get somebody
$1 million
who I thought could help. But there is the question too. Like in this new day and age, you look the way Kansas is loading up, and injuries can happen and bad luck and all that stuff. But those sort of programs now, if you're trying to win another national title, are going to be tricky to beat because they are going to load up with transfers and do it with cash every single year. And so Michigan State's going to have to decide whether it can.
Well, where are the donors then? Let's go. Let's get Izzo his second natty. $1 million to get a big man in the portal. Who gives a shit?
Well, the people who aren't getting any other return on investment.
Billionaires? Yeah. If you were a part of the reason, or you were the reason why Izzo got his second natty, though, man, as a donor, that'd be awesome. DeUper, MSU had a historically bad defense last season. Shouldn't we, as fans, be glad the players are going into the portal?
Not all of them, no. And you need depth. I know some of these guys aren't starters, and they're young players, haven't played a lot, and some of that's just going to happen. But continuity and depth, and guys who develop matter. It makes a difference. It helps. I mean, I know it's not entirely there are some guys who hurt more than others, but Derek Harmon and Simeon Barrow, you feel that. Those are guys you don't want in the portal.
Go Green next. Fiddler was a necessary addition, but what is the realistic ceiling for MSU Hoops next season with the roster as is? I bet a box of Groovy Donuts. It's the 6th in the Big Ten and a Sweet 16. Have a hard time believing Tom thinks the 5 spot is adequate to contend for titles. And from Matt, on a scale of 1 to 10, MSU basketball was about a 5.6 before Fiddler. What are they with Fiddler? And what are they if they add a rebounding defensive power forward and center?
First of all, Groovy Donuts is an excellent currency for gambling. We highly recommend. So if you're dabbling in gambling, but you're not sure you want to do it with cash yet, really, betting a box of Groovy Donuts, great way to introduce yourself to great donuts. And the gambling, and pretty safe.
Hey, Andrew and Monica, I need 6 dozen. I got to pay my bookie. Do you mind fronting me those?
I want, and 2 strawberry cheesecake on the side for me for the way home, for sure, which are available again this weekend. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your order today, and if you have an open house or anything like that in this next month, Groovy Donuts is a great way to add to your event. Your people, it'll be a memorable way to do so. Trust me, I've been to tailgates with them, whether they've been Groovy Donuts, have been other things, events. People remember donuts. They remember Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com or swing by either location, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, or also in Williamston, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. To the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, MSU basketball is about a 5.6 before Fiddler. What are they with him? It's really hard to know because so much of this team is what's going to develop with certain guys. What is Jeremy Fears Jr. as a sophomore point guard who missed most of last year? What is Jaden Akins as a 2-guard, more featured player? What is Xavier Booker as a starting 4-man, and what level did he get to? There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lower floor with this team than there was last year's team, and probably a higher ceiling. And Fiddler helps both the floor and the ceiling because he creates shooting and spacing, another ball handler, guy can get to the rim, the free throw line. I think he's is a good player. So if MSU was a 5.6 before Fiddler, I would make them a 6.8 with him. But I think they could be anywhere from a 5 even to an 8.5, depending on other guys around and how they develop. So it's I don't know what the ceiling is, though. I think the ceiling is in the development of a lot of these guys. And then, is there another move in the portal? And while I don't see it coming right now, I don't know that we know that for sure.
G.E. Miller, are fans who simultaneously hate the current college athletics landscape but want Tom Izzo to enhance his roster through the portal hypocrites?
No, I think most MSU fans would happily go back to a day where there was nothing you could do about the center position, but it was the way that it used to be built. And at the same time, Kansas couldn't add 6 guys at the level they have, and Illinois and Indiana couldn't do it. And you had to build the old way, the way that worked for their program for a long time. I think most fans would take that trade. The problem is they don't like it, but they understand this is the way you have to win in it. And so I don't think it makes you a hypocrite. It just makes you a realist, even if you hate it. Sometimes we hate ourselves, I don't know if that made any sense.
Every day. G.E. Miller, our fans read that one. It seems the private equity interests are behind the teardown of college sports, and Charlie Baker is a willing bystander who could fight back and right this ship. It needs to happen, or there won't be fan bases in 5 years.
So the shrinking of the fan base is something I'm curious about. Like, people, you say this now, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I watch a lot less college basketball and college football than I used to. I am less interested. I lost a little more interest in college basketball than I had before. College football probably about the same amount, but I don't love the setup, and I don't. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The private equity element is something to pay attention to. I don't know where this is going, man. I wish I did. I don't know that you're going to care as much. I just think things are going to be so different even a year from now, definitely by 2 years from now, that it'll be time to reassess. That's what I would say. Try not to get too down on things right now.
But it's easier for you to say because you detach yourself, at least from Michigan State stuff, or so you claim, right? So it's easier for you to detach and say that it's not. But people that are diehards and look forward to
100%.
those Saturdays every year, it's
tough.
You got to do something with your time.
It's like if you had a spouse that you were madly in love with for a decade or more or whatever, and then they just started doing shit that pissed you off.
Like porn.
My voice got weird. Oh, they just whatever it was. They started flirting with people. Or they started taking every cell phone call when you were at dinner. They just started doing everything that was like annoying, and the character of who they were became a little less and different. And yeah, they started having affairs, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I like this, and then you're hoping to work through it. This is a really bad analogy. I don't know why I started it. We'll fix it in post.
Steve Beckman, would you have driven to Detroit to be there for the NFL draft on Thursday night if you were in your 30s?
Maybe my 20s.
Yeah,
but I still didn't like that many people. I mean, that's a lot. Like I would be worried about going to the bathroom even in my 20s.
Yeah, but in our 20s we would have went because there's no internet or whatever, right?
Well,
are we claiming there's internet in our 20s? Whatever.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
because we would have just went, oh man, NFL draft. In my 20s for sure, I'm there.
If the right friends had, I would not have gone on my own. But if the right friends had, if the right, what I mean is, I wouldn't have been the spearhead of it.
For one.
If the right friends had said, hey, let's go do this, and I was like 27, I probably would have done it. But not in my 30s, no. I was already an old soul by then.
Next one from Beckman. Which MSU team had the biggest upgrade with incoming transfers so far? Basketball, football, or hockey?
Well, I'm going to say basketball because there are fewer guys that play in a basketball game and are, and I know there are the same amount of, roughly same amount of non-goalie skaters on the ice. But to me, when you add a starter to a basketball team, now you could argue a quarterback and Aiden Childs. That's a good point. They've lost some guys though too. I'd say the basketball team hasn't lost anybody with the transfer, and they've added Fiddler. So I would say it's basketball. I would give it to basketball.
Next one from Steve. When should we expect MSU transfer news to settle down so Graham could write about something else?
Oh, I'm not writing about this stuff. Don't worry. I'm so grateful not to be like a true beat writer who has to react to every whim of somebody who's jumping in the portal right now. Now, I may do theme stories, and I may jump into it next week about what's going on, and there are it becomes a story when it's more than one guy, or if it's a big enough guy. Like I've been to write about a basketball transfer 100 times out of 100, like I did with Frankie Fiddler, even when Mady Sissoko got in the portal. But yeah, it will settle down a little bit after April 1st because fewer guys can get in the portal. It'll just be guys signing. Or May 1st, sorry.
MZA next. Seeing as Izzo is probably done in the portal, would you say this offseason was a success?
No. I mean, I think it was an incomplete. I do think the Fiddler get was well done. It was somebody they targeted. They did it without a lot of fanfare overall. They got the guy they wanted. They had him on campus. They probably weren't the favorites to get him, and then were able to do so. So I think they did that really, really well. And so we'll see if they add another piece. And if they don't, then whether the offseason is a success is dependent on the season. It's dependent on how well those big guys are, if the plan in place works. And, they could prove everybody wrong, but they're going to actually have to do that. And it's not something it's going to be an incomplete until the season's played.
MZA, do you find the recent departures from the defensive side of MSU, the football team, concerning?
I mean, if next year was a year that they were like, if this was year 4 under Jonathan Smith or year 3, and they were like hoping to contend next year after a promising year the year before, you'd say, boy, that's not great. But that's not where the program is. Like, there's nothing outside of like Aiden Childs leaving, there's just nothing that's concerning right now because you're in a state of the program where you're building towards something that probably won't happen until those guys would have been gone anyway. You don't want to lose young players that are promising. I'd say that's the bigger issue. But I don't know. I'm very much in a tell me who the team is in August. I'll cover it. We'll talk about it. And it's hard to get overly worked up, even from a writing perspective, about the impact of guys leaving, especially on a football roster where it's just such a large roster and so many guys play.
One more and break?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, MZA, what do you think Frankie Fiddler's averages will look like next year?
I think we talked about this before. I think it'll be 12. If I had to guess, 12 points, 4.5 rebounds, couple assists, 6 free throws a game, maybe.
Is that bazooka time?
Bazooka time.
It'll be under. It'll be 14 points or under. It'll be more than 10 points. So in that range. And I think he'll be a really effective, good player. Not a headliner, but a guy that they can knock down shots, brings in some size, some rebounding, gets to the line. I think this is a really good get that fits what they're
really piss you off 4 or 5 times a season.
We'll see. I don't know enough. Is he inconsistent like that? I'm sure he'll at some point he'll have a game that'll anger people, as every player seems to. We'll be right back. We got plenty more Groovy Donut Twitter questions to dig into. Couch in the Rube, try that one more time. We'll fix that in post. Presented by our friends at Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis, and our whatever day this is, Friday show, brought to you by our friends.
I have to pee, Couch. Hurry up.
Firekeepers, iCasino, and Sports.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. And here's the best part. Mention Couch in the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a free GoPro 8 with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop.
Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. The Tigers score 7 or more runs today or any day. The next day, you can get a free eighth of ProGrow with a purchase of $40 or more with the promo code Tigers. And bats are heating up a little bit, so that's actually possible. For a while, I thought this was just a promotion by Pure Options that they'd never have to use.
It's a great number.
But go to pureoptions.com, check out the location nearest you, swing by, say hello, let them know Couch in the Rube sent you. And if you spend more than $50, just let them know Couch in the Rube sent you because you get a free eighth of ProGrow as well that way too. I know some people were down at their yesterday. They had a cool party going on from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at their Detroit store during the NFL draft. So I hope some of you got to take advantage of that.
You and Roger Goodell going down there hanging out.
And our what day? Friday show. I'm really struggling with that today. Friday show also presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. A little bit of breaking news. AJ Hogarth is officially in the transfer portal. So that is out there.
And luck to him. Yes.
Yeah, and Justin Thind reported that here's Michigan State's basketball team is going to head to Spain in mid-August for one of those trips where they
Any update on Madi? What's he doing?
He's looking at a number of schools out west. Yeah, he's going to wind up
How
at a big school.
far west are we talking?
I don't know. I have no fucking. I'm not paying that much attention. Sorry.
Spartan Dog 97. If Izzo is committed to trying to get back to a deep tournament run or die trying, should we consider him not taking a portal center a form of suicidal ideation? And from Jimbo Jones, Izzo says it was a mistake not to use the portal, and it's on him. Then says he's going to die trying to make a run, then pivots right back to the exact same stupid strategy of not getting a center. What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, okay. So yes, I don't think this is Izzo trying to kill himself. I do not think this is that move. Here's the thing about whatever Izzo's doing, he's not doing it to spite you. I don't think he's doing it because he's lazy. I guarantee it's not that case. I mean, I was talking. Those guys are on the road constantly recruiting guys from 2025, and they're working their tails off. I mean, they're trying to do what they think is best for the program that gives them the best chance to win this season and beyond. And so you may disagree with it, and I may disagree with it, and they may need to answer for it at times when it seems like the evidence was clear they should do something different. But you're in the same boat. The goal is the same. He wants the same thing you do. And so that's something just to keep in mind.
Corey Ostrom next. Does a super conference that's long been rumored seem credible to you? Seems to me that there's only maybe 10 teams that won't struggle in that scenario because of their endless supply of money. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that the Big Ten and SEC have been such pompous asses in sort of driving this. Not a fan. And I don't think a super conference is something that people want. And we'll see if what the people want really matters. And it would be smart if the Ohio States and Michigans and Alabamas and Floridas and whatnots of the world understood that their best chance to have a sport that is thriving and the sport that they care about most is to have a little more thought of the greater good. Now, to me, I think this means booting Greg Sankey. I think it's clear at this point that, and I'm not sure how I feel about Petiti in the Big Ten yet, but I don't like this sort of selfish-driven mentality by those conferences that I've seen to this point.
Corey Ostrom, does a super conference that's long been rumored seem credible to you? I read that one? Yeah.
I think you read that.
David Jackson, in Doug Warren's old show intro, can you identify what he said in the Rube's favorite podcast? What is this word?
Yekt? Oh, because it's in the Rube's favorite podcast.
Podcast Addict.
Addict, yes.
But thank you for throwing that my way. GEGKKT.
But he put it in quotes.
Right.
Yeah. Addict.
Podcast Addict.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was either forever. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know either. Love you, Doug. David Jackson, can you bring Cody on as a guest to tell us how life changed when he went to Wyoming and the ins and outs of building a fan site? And how the hell he has a child.
Oh, my God. Cody, yeah. But
he probably has no time.
We could have Cody on sometime this summer. I like Cody. It's fun to have Cody on. We had him on, was it when he was in, we had him on once in studio when he was back in town, and we've had him once over the phone at least. Cody's a great person to talk to. How often do you still talk to Cody?
Not often.
No?
No.
Not cool enough to make your sphere?
I don't know. When you have a child, it's like when a friend of yours has a child, it's just like, all right, see you later. I'll see you when the kid's like 7 or something.
I don't think he owns the site anymore. He built it, he did it, and then I think he sold it but still runs it. If I'm correct, I shouldn't speak out of turn, but I think that's where that is.
David Jackson. Graham, Columbus has a women's professional soccer team playing in something called the WPSL. They face a Detroit team called Corktown, which actually plays at the Tiger Stadium site. How good is this soccer? Better than the Big Ten women? Better than a boys' middle school team?
Yeah, better than the WPSL, if I am correct, that's not the top level, right? It's the MPSL, right? That's the top. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh my God, can't wait for this one.
I felt all of Fred Human. Yeah, it's the NWSL. Yeah, so the WPSL is like a secondary league, but it's usually a lot of college players, good college players. So depending on the team, sometimes it's some of the best college players from an individual team, or you can only have, I think, like 5 from one team on any of these summer league teams. I think that's what this sort of is. So I think it's good soccer. It's probably equivalent to really good Division I women's soccer. So it's good soccer.
Richard Kane, is there information about how much NIL money teams have that regular folk can access online?
No. You can find it reported here and there, but there's no. That's part of, I think, people's frustration is they don't know what's what. You can.
I know, but we talked about even before the NIL thing was talked about, or was started in the infancy, and we're like, what's the rules?
Well, there are no rules because
that's what I mean. So
because really this is third-party salary, but it's disguised as endorsements, and we never know how much people pay for endorsements. That's what's the bullshit behind it. This isn't really what it is. It's not NIL, and so there's never going to be regulation on NIL itself unless it's called something else, and it is something else. You'll still have NIL then, but if the bulk of the money is coming elsewhere, or being funneled differently, or donors are paying the school directly, and then it's a salary. Then you might have, and if players or employees, certainly then you're going to have numbers, and you're going to know a little bit more. And but it looks right now that Indiana, from reports, may have more than $7 million in basketball, which is more than double what Michigan State had last year. So these are things to think about. And, if you've got a grandchild or a child that you're planning to leave money to and they're kind of an ungrateful brat and you love Michigan State sports, change your inheritance. You make your kids earn it. Otherwise, it goes to a point guard or a running back.
Richard Kane, it does not matter if you're actually on episode 909, 915, or whatever. When is the Couch of the Rube a Palooza happening at Spartan Stadium?
I cannot imagine that would 7 people there and us at Spartan Stadium. No,
yeah.
But it probably never. We'll probably never have a stadium. Maybe. I think Midtown Brewing Company is kind of our scene, our spot. That was a great place, by the way, for our last live show that we just did. I think that size venue for an occasional live show is probably our peak. And by the way, Midtown Brewing Company, awesome place for any occasion. We've told you that before, not just to see us. I think any of you who were there that day realized it. Great vibe, terrific menu, great beer selection, the American Stout being my absolute favorite. Great place for a date night this weekend or brunch on Sunday. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their outstanding menu.
Alan Perlstein next. How has the wide open portal affected high school recruiting? What do you think high school recruiting will look like in 5 to 10 years?
I think it's affected it a lot. It's the one-time transfer rule and the fact that coaches are spending so much more time building rosters with portal kids. You're seeing kids that would have been recruited by Big Ten schools now going to Missouri Valley schools or MAC schools. Kids who would have been low D1 now going to D2. And there's an impact of that. Now, some of those kids then can play themselves into D1 as transfers, and they benefit from years later. But the problem is, what if a kid doesn't want to transfer? What if a kid just wants to go somewhere and have a freaking 4 or 5 year experience like a lot of people did and do still? And now their opportunities are limited. I think those are a problem. I think part of the fix is in the kids saying this sucks. It helps when Lawrence Thomas and Mark Delp, guys who have actually played within the last decade, say this is bullshit the way this is, and this isn't helping these kids. It's not helping their grit. It's not helping their stick-to-itiveness, their ability to overcome adversity. And then you also need the lower levels to say, how about lawsuits? How about the high school kids sue the college kids for taking too many spots? I don't know what the answer is. At this point, you sue, you get what you want. So I'm tempted to, I want to see somebody sue to get to be Michigan State's basketball coach next year. Maybe it's your right to get to do that. Why does Tom Izzo get to do that? Why can't Dominic be Michigan State's basketball coach next year?
Don't coach my team.
I'm telling you, I think that Tom Izzo is getting in Dominic's way of fulfilling a lifelong dream, and I think the courts would side with him. That's the way it appears right now.
Some dude, Jason, what does Mel Tucker do right now on a daily basis?
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
I have no idea, but it would be a good story.
Hopefully it's not beating his bag to someone on the phone. I mean, do you think every time he masturbates, so he thinks man, I lost $80 million doing this?
I've not given it much thought. I've not given it much thought.
I have, actually. Some dude, life is full of shitty things that we have to deal with and make the best of. Instead of us all complaining about the portal and 3PS, how do we figure out a way to enjoy it? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think.
No.
Well, yeah.
No, sorry, some dude.
I think part of it is getting it's still in transition. We still don't know what this is and what it's going to be. And I think part of it is the fear that Michigan State fans won't be a have. It'll be a have to some degree, but that there will be programs that are always going to be significantly better because they just have more money and donors and resources, and it's impossible to catch them, and that's frustrating. And it won't be something that people can enjoy because you can't build anything. I get all that. So I think the biggest thing is to take a deep breath and sort of accept it, find the areas you still enjoy it, understand it's going to change more, and then hope that whatever system we wind up with in the next 5 or 10 years is something that's palatable for you. But I think that's the best bet.
Jay Riemenschneider, right or wrong, a few years from now, do you think MSU fans are going to lament that they got the wrong Fears brother, just as some have said about the Christie brothers?
No, I mean, I don't know if Jeremiah will be better or not. I mean, I have no idea. Jeremiah is a good player. I mean, he's obviously 2 years younger than his brother. I think Jeremy Fears still has a chance to be a really, really good college basketball player. I don't have any idea if what happened to him last Christmas and getting shot is going to impact his career. And if so, to what extent? How it'll change him as an athlete, if it will at all. If it doesn't, if he is the prospect he was going forward before that happened, I think he's got a chance to be a really, really terrific player.
Jay Riemenschneider, who has been the bigger thorn in the side of MSU over their career, Michael Penix or Boo Buie?
I don't know. Would you give it to Penix over Buie?
I think I got to go Buie. There's just too much there, gambling related, all sorts of shit. I was scared of Penix when Michigan State played him, so I don't think I lost much money. But yeah, Boo Buie has taken my soul a couple times, I think.
Yeah, and Penix beat two bad Michigan State teams, as it turned out. I mean, he did crush them, too. And it
was one of those things where you're like, man, he's really good. All right, move on.
Yeah, Bowie's probably the answer.
And he's been there forever. Shep, presented by Pure Options, apparently. What's the most random homemade MacGyver contraption you've ever consumed cannabis out of? Mine would be a homemade hookah made from an office water cooler jug and a World War II Army surplus gas mask back in the 90s. Man.
Outstanding.
I got to say, my roommate, he made a bong out of our like kitchen sink somehow. I wasn't partaking in weed back then, but I did see him do that. As far as me, I really haven't used anything crazy. I want to say like an apple or a soda can or something, but
Shep, it's a good story though.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Suburban Spartan Dad. The draft got me reminiscing about my favorite haunts in Detroit. Do you guys have a go-to bar or restaurant when you're in town?
Do you have a place?
No, I'm not picky.
Yeah, Old Shillelagh or something. No, I'm
Old Shillelagh. We did go there once.
Yeah.
For like, was it St. Patrick's Day? It was just crazy there. But
yeah, I don't. There was a Tim Hortons near Holiday Inn Express in 2008 when I was covering the Tigers. I used to go to all the time. There really isn't. It's not my town. Like I go there, for Tigers games or Lions games or for something. But it's not a place that I have it's a place I enjoy, but it's not like a place of this is my spot in Detroit.
Like the Pantheon in Greektown, I don't know if it's still there or not, but I used to love that place.
Right. No, there are lots. I've been to lots of good places. My wife goes all the time for work, and so she spends a lot more time, at the Eastern Market and all sorts of places. I mean, she would have better answers, but to most questions, really.
But she will let her on the podcast.
Correct.
Yeah. Josh Inwood next. MSU grad, 2000. Got my PhD at Georgia in 2007. Wow. I've been a professor at Auburn, Tennessee, and now Penn State. What's your favorite college town to visit on game day and why? You can't beat Athens, Georgia on a football Saturday.
Yeah, I've never been to Athens, or Athens, obviously, on a football Saturday. Favorite, it's tough because, I have game day experiences like Virginia in like the mid-2000s was awesome. And the way that the guys are in ties, the women are in sundresses, and they're swaying and singing, and there's the lawn with it's just a sweet stadium setup, outdoor press box, all that stuff. But favorite game day atmosphere, and I don't get to enjoy it the way you would probably, right? I don't get to tailgate and drink and things of that nature. So so the places I have good memories are different than where, like I have friends in Indiana who tailgate, and so I will get to hang out with them for a little while, and I enjoy that scene. So like Indiana football to me is fun. But it's not the SEC. I'm trying to think of places I've been that have been just incredible atmospheres.
Well, we can circle back to it.
Yeah.
But think of one.
Favorite college town to visit on a game day. A lot of people love Madison, but I love it in basketball season, in the winter, because of where you can stay, and I would say Madison's up there. But I don't know that one jumps at me. But Virginia is probably my best experience I've ever had in terms of just the overall college town and the stadium experience.
Mojo Jojo. Jason, were you at the draft? Do you think 275,000 folks were actually there? I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't know about that. But, yeah, there was definitely a shit ton of people. And, no, there was no inkling of going.
Part of the thing about living in Ovid is you get less and less desire to be around people.
I love being at home, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Just a homebody, and I hate people. So, Mojo Jojo, is Jared Goff, it's out of my hand statement, BS? I mean, come on, man. You're not an idiot. You went to Cal. If you want to win a Super Bowl, be flexible. If you want the bag, own up to it, but don't be surprised when we stop chanting your name.
He's talking about the contract. He said it's out of my hands, is what he said?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess. But it is just kind of curious that we're breaking everybody off and we're chanting Jared Goff's name, but he doesn't
Yeah, because
what are we waiting for?
Yeah, but you got to pay those guys first, and he also.
Yeah, but you could have paid them all maybe the same time or no?
I don't know. It's.
I'm sure that both sides are trying to do something to make it.
Yeah, and I've said this before with Goff. Like you don't make the Daniel Jones mistake. Now he's better than Daniel Jones, but I wouldn't pay him $40 million. I just wouldn't do it.
Or the Kirk Cousins mistake.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Mojo Jojo. Why weren't the good luck Joes chosen to be between picks entertainment at the NFL draft? Hashtag justice for April and the D. Because they're terrible. Have you ever seen their Twitter account?
No.
It's just like, hey, guess what month it is?
They haven't done another song. They don't have another hit.
Hell no, absolutely not. And they have 24 followers or something. It's embarrassing. The song blows. Professor, who will be the biggest bust of the draft?
One of the quarterbacks, because there's no way when you have 6 quarterbacks go that high in the first round that all of them are decent at all. Like somebody will be really flame out of that group.
The Colts drafted how do you say his name? Latatu, the guy that had 2 neck surgeries. They told him he should retire when he was in college, and he drafted him at 15. I think they traded up to get him. I'm rooting for him, but dude, it just seems like why would you?
No, if I was covering
if
I was covering the Colts, I would have gone home, not written a story, and just started writing about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever because nobody's going to.
You and Greg Doyle, 69 and.
But I think it'll be
what a story that'd be.
I think it'll be Bo Nix.
In the first presser for Michigan State, can you just when Jonathan Smith goes up there, just put a heart with your hands up there?
Hand on my heart.
See
like
what
this?
he does?
Yeah.
I love you, man. Bo McJunkins, is it wrong that I have a go kick rocks attitude toward 2 players MSU worked hard to get out of the portal, only for them to take the money and run? It's cool if players want to leave, but just don't do this in and out of game.
Oh, but just go. I see. You can feel however you want to feel. I mean, that's the thing about college athletics is part of your attachment to players is that they chose your school. So when they decide they want to leave, I think it's perfectly natural to think go kick rocks. Now, I try not to call them all sorts of names on social media and
don't
keep
get
it to yourself.
Vulgar on Twitter then.
But go kick rocks if that's your attitude. I think that's 100% fine. They've chosen to go somewhere else. The school you love, they've chosen not to be a part of. I think it's fair to feel however you want to feel.
Bo McJunkins, we really have to sit here and watch Desmond Howard and Adam Schefter wipe their chins off after about J.J. McCarthy and Jim Harbaugh. But Herb Street can't make a pick for the game he's calling that night because we're afraid of bias.
Well, I mean, he's actually, there's a level of actually journalistic integrity they try to keep with guys who are in the booth. I'm just telling you why they do it.
His kids were on Clemson. He did Clemson games, right?
Desmond Howard does not have a lot of journalistic integrity, nor is he trying to. And Schefter,
he's the greatest life ever.
And Schefter, frankly, doesn't either.
Yeah. Singus X2 next. Remind me why we have scholarship limits. If NIL is unlimited, why can't a school who may not have as much cash compete by offering more scholarships? I'm itching for a lawsuit.
File it. You might be able to get it. It's a good question. I mean, if I'm Western Michigan right now, Central Michigan, I'm joining the Big Ten, filing a lawsuit. Why can't I be in the Big Ten? You're keeping us out of the Big Ten. It's our right to be in the Big Ten. I don't know. It just feels like everybody's got the right to do whatever the fuck they want. So just file a lawsuit and you get it, and the NCAA can't stop it.
We're dropping MFers now?
If NIL is unlimited, why can't a school that may not? But I mean, the rules still are the rules, right? And that would be something you'd have to tell the NCAA. We think, we're gonna have more players. I don't know. There are Title IX components. I think that's one that would be really tricky to do, even through a lawsuit. But I am very curious to see what the next thing that people feel they're being unjustly kept from is out there, and that they fight to get.
All right, Fart Soup. Where does the Rube find his show announcement gifts? My mother.
That got
what?
Dark.
Your mother? Why is it dark? Because his mom has good taste. I asked Trees. I said, give me 2 words, like real quick, and then I put in 2 words in the search, and I find one that makes me LOL a little bit, makes me chuckle. Listen, they're not great.
No, I think they're funny. You do it really well. You do it really well. It's one of my favorite things.
Levi, should you tip on a takeout order?
Where are you on
yes,
this?
of course, because you got to tip wherever you walk. You have to tip everybody.
Well, especially if
you're downtown here, you see someone, you got to pay them $1 because they walk by you.
And if they turn the screen around at you, you have to tip.
Jesus Christ!
Now,
it's just getting ridiculous.
My rule on this is how much work are they putting in, and so that on the takeout and like So if
what are you going to break down how they make it and how many
if
minutes they spend on your
somebody's putting work in, then I'll do
here's
it.
$2. Just leave me alone. It's not any worse than, hey, would you like to donate to children's education through a drive-through?
I struggle with places where, like there's a place in Lansing, and I'll leave the name of it nameless. I really like them. No, I'll say it because I really like them, and I don't mean to. It's right near Front 43 and Casket Company. So if you ever, but it's
Walgreens.
Leaf. It's like a you make a salad bar. They do smoothies for you, and but you make your own freaking salad. You do the work.
Yeah.
Now they've cut up all these vegetables very nicely. It's a very nice setup for them. Granted. And if they make me a smoothie, that's a whole other thing. They have to pick out things. They have to do the smoothie. I get that. But you get to the end, and you put in your credit card, and then they swing the screen around at you.
Jesus.
And usually I'm like a 20% guy. But 20%, your salad's heavy as hell. So like all of a sudden a $26 meal is like $34 or whatever. Like, God,
can you just put it in the price, and I'll just pay the price? What's the price?
I know it's a lot.
I want to go in and pay a price. I don't want to have a screen whipped around at me. And by the way, I've seen those screens. Some say 45%. I don't know what kind of fucking service I would have to get 45%.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I'm a big believer though, in tips should be less about the price of your meal and more about the time and effort somebody has to put in it.
Bingo.
So, like for me, and if I go to a sports bar, if I go to Front 43 or if I go to Midtown Brewing Company and I spend 3 hours watching a football game, having somebody wait on me, but all I have is like a Diet Coke and that's it, and it costs like $3, I'm still going to tip them like, $10 like I did. Like, no, I'm going to tip them like,
$10.
Yeah, because that was what I would have tipped them if I had like a $40 meal. Because I have taken that time up. No.
I'm talking about when the lady that cuts my hair, I see her maybe once a month, once every 2 months. I break her off. I tip her 50%.
I tip her a lot. You put scissors to my head and you do a good job.
But you only see her a minimal amount of time. I thought that's where you were going, not with.
No, I'm talking about like if the amount of work you put in should be more tip reliant. I will tell you this too: when you go to Europe and you're in England or someplace where they don't tip, people say, "Oh, don't worry about tipping there." You should tip though. Because you still get
because then stop that.
You get special service.
If they tell you not to tip, I know, but if they tell you not to tip and then you're tipping,
they tell you, but they still want it.
Yeah. Captain Spartan, why don't you guys hang out ever?
You just listen to this last conversation.
Are you guys really just coworkers? Ever double date? Love the show.
Appreciate you.
How long have you been listening, Captain Spartan? We have two absolutely different lives that I don't think I don't want any part of his, and he doesn't want any part of mine.
And if the show ever stopped, I would be inclined to hang out with him more often.
Such a liar.
No, I would.
We will never see each other ever again.
That's not true.
As soon as the show is over.
That's not true. That's not true. Plus, I spend more time with Jason.
We don't do any of the same things.
That's not true.
No.
I would top golf. I never get invited. Right?
Sure.
I would mini golf with you. I've mini golfed with you before.
Front 43, but I'm never invited.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
So
but that's what you have to understand, Captain Spartan. It's what makes this show great is that we don't have anything in common. I think his life is so bizarre, and he probably thinks mine is as well. I think the only thing is that he misses out, him and his wife hanging out with Trees. I think
Trees
you two should hang out with Trees and maybe not me because she would go do the stuff that you like to do. And
yeah, my wife really likes Trees.
I love being at home. That's where I love to be. Whatever I have to do, it all involves me going home and watching sports and smoking Pure Options. Some Pure Options at night. That's all I want to do, to be honest with you.
And that's really what my wife is more of a homebody too. She one of the reasons we're married is she said I was the only person she liked hanging out with more than herself, which is a big win for me.
That was a lie.
Yeah, it was a lie, but it was a big win. The other thing is we spend more time together than we do probably with our wives in a lot of ways.
Huh?
Well, because we're doing this
5 hours a week, maybe.
How much time do you spend with your wife?
She works from home, so I see her.
Yeah, that's true.
Shit ton.
But I spend more time with you than I do any other friend, other than my wife.
All right.
Right?
What does that mean?
I'm just saying, we do spend a lot of time together. And part of what I think keeps this fresh, and I wouldn't say great, I think it's an exaggeration, but part of what keeps this fresh is the fact that everything we do live. We don't have a sense of where it's going. We don't know yesterday's. We weren't there yesterday to talk about it for 20 minutes on the phone together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because sometimes you just lose. I don't even like talking to you before the show because if I say something and if I say it again, I'm like, I'm just repeating myself.
It wasn't as good. Right.
Yeah. Are we still on the air?
I think so.
Okay. Varsity softball dad. Did Jason hurt his arm shaking his fist at the clouds like Abe Simpson meme when he ranted about young people. The Abe Simpson reference, though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sick of these kids that are just too lazy to look shit up. It's impossible. It's like one of my favorite things to do is just look up some random stuff. Isn't that great? It's at your fingertips. Fast-ass internet. You got video for days you can watch. I can watch all Pete Maravich's games almost on YouTube. It's fantastic. Watch some shit. It's great.
I even enjoy, like, one of my things that I do enjoy that my mother talks about on our walks is she has, like, these random tidbits that come from, like, Encyclopedia Britannica on the web or something that get emailed to her every day, or it's like this date in history. I like random shit. I think that's fun. I think it's,
and she's laser focused on those too, because if there's a crime going on, she doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
Right
If she started her story, she's finishing her story.
Varsity Softball Dad, have I contributed enough to the show to get an invite to hang out with the Spartan writers after the Boston College game in September?
Yeah, but here's the thing: 100%.
You want to?
Yeah, we're not the best. No, the other thing is game time dependent. So it's usually the night before is when we would hang out. I get invites on the road occasionally night after, but if it's a 3:30 game or later, I'll be working until midnight or so. So it won't
burning the midnight oil.
It won't be me out. But of course, yeah.
Neurotic Pants. Here's a July suggestion. Jason eats 5 edibles. Deal. During the show, and he has a ride home arranged for him. Graham takes the meat restaurant challenge and tries to eat that monster challenge that they offer diners.
I would do if there was a Front 43 or Midtown Brewing Company challenge, I would do it. And
I've
done the Groovy Donuts challenge. If you haven't seen that episode, you're welcome to it.
Front 43 really should have like some sort of like Graham Couch challenge. I think people would go in and try it.
I would want it to be right.
I know
you don't want it to be
gonna
disgusting.
Overthink it and make it terrible. So
no, yeah, right. It. Yeah, right. I fucked it up.
I know. You should have just said, give me a burrito.
Yeah.
Could have done this next week.
Yeah.
Neurotic Pants, Jason, did Graham blame the podcast listening audience for storytelling difficulties? Your stories aren't bad, and it's been a while since you've told the Mafia video story. I'd like to hear that in full since I've only heard it referenced. Well, Neurotic Pants, I'll give you Graham's number. He'll call and tell you.
Wait, the Mafia videos. Oh, yeah. The yes. I can give that real quickly. No, in 2001, and you can blame, this is a Matt Millen story, really. Everything's a Matt Millen story. Matt Millen and Marty Morningwing and fucking Ty Detmer lost so many games that year for the Lions that I lost a lot of bets that year on the Lions. And so then I had to get a job. And I was walking around my neighborhood on the north side of Chicago, lived off like Diversey, Pine Grove, Diversey, Clark area. And I found this electronics store on Broadway that paid me $7 an hour under the table cash. And I sold electronics when I didn't know anything about electronics. And it was great. Worked for two guys who I don't think we didn't sell a lot. So there's no way it was their primary income. And we got some interesting phone calls once in a while and about like people watching houses and being on their I got some phone calls that led me to believe there was a little more to their businesses.
Does that cover up for your stereotyping the Italian Americans?
Well, and one of the guys looked like a monster. Like he was a caricature that I've never seen. Like the big guy, they called him the big guy. He was these lips and he was very much. And one day I would go get his lunch order sometimes, and I came back and they had put mayonnaise on it or whatever sauce he didn't want on it.
Oh,
and he just smashed it and slammed his fist down and threw a fit. Like that was him, and it was startling. But he was this.
He tell you give him another one?
I offered.
Hey, weird kid, go give me another one of these.
Yeah, I certainly offered. But that was one of the more interesting, great jobs ever. They were great to me, unbelievable. I did not exist on paper in that store, and I don't know that we sold much because why would you hire me? And I will say this: I also would one of my jobs was scraping the sign that said refurbished off the box before we sold things. So we weren't entirely
serial numbers off the guns.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever you had to do. So yeah, it was a good job. A story almost worth telling and would have been told better by somebody else, but still told. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue. If you're looking for a cool place to go this weekend for a date night, for Sunday brunch, next Tuesday for trivia, they do an outstanding job there. Go to Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue.
Neurotic Pants. Graham, after parsing through the coach talk, what vision does Jonathan Smith actually have for the team? I watched his ESPN interview and left knowing less than I did before I watched it. Does that mean he's good at it then?
Yeah, he doesn't tell you much in that sense. But, yeah, what vision does he have? I think he has, he's talked about this. I think you've gotten his vision. He wants to be a pro-style physical team, an inventive offense. I mean, it's he wants a sort of meat and potatoes program that is.
We're going to run, throw the ball. We're going to play some defense.
What's his
special
line?
Teams.
Low output, high ego. No, it's the opposite. Low ego, high output. Like he's looking for that. He's looking for those kind of guys. They're not going to chase 5 stars. They're hoping to get some, but they're going to try and get their kind of guy and build a program that way, and we'll see if it works.
Matt C. Did Michigan get put on probation, Graham? I can't seem to find any coverage in the Detroit media.
They've written about it. They've absolutely written about it. I've seen multiple stories about it. I'm sure Angelique did. Hold on. Give me some Hoff.
Oh, Hoff. Let's see this.
Come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and hollow sky. It looks so good tonight.
Free Ubers.
All right, let's see here.
I am a passenger.
Absolutely. I mean, fucking everybody masturbates.
Under glass. I look through my window so bright.
Here we go. No, that's not it. It's in. It's. Oh, here we go. Yeah, U of M football faces probation restrictions after NCAA agreement over violations, and it is written by Angelique on April 16th. Yep.
Then that's it. Then
I'm just saying this does
problem solved.
This does
Angelique's on the case.
It does tend to happen that people aren't.
It's the longest Hoff we've ever had to play, but it took you long to find it.
Yeah.
Matt C. Did Michigan violate their probation by cheating and stealing signs and sending counter stallions to stadiums in spy glasses?
Oh, that would be interesting if the NCAA then used that as a reason to slam them. I would find it very interesting if Harbaugh was still there, what the punishments would look like and what that conversation would be. But obviously he got out.
If there was a story, would Matt C. read it all and finally go, finally, I can move on now? Is that how it works with him?
You sound like Schwarzenegger.
I love Matt C., but it's like if they wrote the column, it'd be over, right? Original Dark Mantonio. I heard rumor.
Oh, wait, we missed one from Matt C.
Oh, Jesus. Since college athletes are now paid professionals, can you start hammering them when they make dumb plays in the post game for the fans?
Well, I think you should still treat them as humans. That's a good idea.
Not just making Matt C's terms. Yeah. No. If you're getting paid, you're going to hear what I have to say.
Even if somebody's a professional, you should treat them humanely and with kindness and dignity.
Fred box them out.
Yeah, jeez. Oh, be careful. I felt all of Fred Human. There is an argument, though, that in terms of the expectations for them, if they're pros, that there is something a little different to that dynamic. And, so yes.
All right. Original Dark Mantonio. I heard a rumor somewhere that you might be college basketball newsbreaker and insider, the one and only Trilly Donovan. Is there any truth to the scuttlebutt, Graham?
Where did this rumor start? No. I start most of the rumors at our message boards. You just don't realize it's me. But yeah.
Do they just repeat the same take over and over again?
That's it.
Oh, that's them. That's you. Original Dark Mantonio, do you think a better head coach would have gotten more out of Michigan basketball last year? If yes, how much more? Top half of the conference? One win in the NCAA tourney, maybe?
It's a good question. The problem started a year before, obviously, with Jet Howard and that thing falling out. But yes, I do think that Juwan Howard had sort of lost that program a little bit. And I don't know last year's team how much more they would have got out of it, but I think it started the year before. There was more talent than certainly the 8 wins. I mean, yes. I mean, that was a team that should have been, I think, talent, just from a pure talent standpoint, if you had your point guard every game, a bubble team in the NCAA tournament for sure.
OG Dark Mantonio, do you think, Hans Jurgen, these athletes don't give a damn about our school, do they?
Some of them do. Some of them don't. I do think there's less ties to the school. There's less care, and a lot of them care more after they leave the school, and they're more
What's the
attached
percentage,
to the school.
though, you think?
That really care?
I think 10%.
No, it's higher than that.
No. That care about the school? They're passionate about the school?
I think many of them are after they leave, when they become alums and they care and they're watching.
If they get $1 million.
Yeah.
I can fake that
It's a good question, though, where that level of attachment and passion and when it rises and when it crests and all that, that's a good question.
Hans, what is the deadline for signing portal players, or is the portal as eternal as purgatory?
Yeah, you can sign them up till classes start. They just can't enter the portal after May 1st.
Next one from Hans. With this portal business, what do we have to look forward to? This is chaos. I'm hurting. Make it stop.
Soccer season, baseball season, lots of other things, and football season. Football and basketball, you kind of got to try to, I would block it out. And, in the old days, you'd write like one recruiting story in the summer and for a newspaper, and that was about it. And people did other things in the summer, and they looked forward to other sports, and try to think of life as like 1988 again.
Hans, does Jonathan Smith look right through you? Is he kind to children and small animals?
No evidence he isn't. I've had very few interactions with him, but there has been no red flags. Only answer the questions genuinely, purposefully, and seem to be respectful. So.
Last one from Hans. You guys going to bring in a derby expert next week or what? We have so little joy in our lives.
We'll bring Harry on maybe, and we'll talk derby. That would be fun.
Isn't it?
Do you not bet the Kentucky Derby?
I mean, maybe if I'm around it or something. But I mean, is breaking it down. How long do you break down horses?
It's the one sport that my wife can actually watch because it's only a 2-minute race.
Mm.
Yeah.
So many other things there.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna. Yeah,
I just got to move on.
I stopped. I was gonna even be self-deprecating. She's used to things that only last 2 minutes. All that stuff. It's all there. Let's keep going.
All right, Jake Hawkins, just read your tweet that you like Michael Penix's pick to Atlanta. Why is that? That was the strangest pick of all, especially since they gave Kirk Cousins so much money.
Yeah, I like Michael Penix as a player, and that's it. It is I didn't love what they did, but I like the pick itself because I think Kirk Cousins has a ceiling that is beneath the dreams of their fan base or organization.
Jake, but if it were your favorite team, you'd be kind of like, what's going on here?
I'd be annoyed that they signed Cousins, or I'd be a little
I would be
curious
annoyed
about
by
situation.
the contract that they gave Cousins.
Or I want to know why. It would be similar to like a lot of the way MSU fans feel about Izzo in the center position. You need to hear a really good explanation. And if Atlanta said, look, we looked at our contracts, where our young players are, who we're going to have to pay when, and the problem is they can't say this because they signed Cousins to a 4-year deal, and they're essentially admitting it's only a 2-year deal. But for the next couple of years, we have the cap space and flexibility, and we wanted to have a good quarterback, and we now do, and we hope Penix is the future. And after that, we'll get rid of Cousins, and we'll have other guys that we're going to pay, and the timing works out great. There might be a really viable explanation based on their cap situation.
All right, next one from the Hawk. I know it was expected that guys were going to jump into the portal after spring practice, but the amount of guys and who's jumping in. But I mean, damn. What do you think is going on? Why go through all the spring practices, then leave?
Well, they've taken some shit for this, for sticking out through spring and taking those reps and leaving and all that. But here's the thing. Part of figuring out what you want to do is spending a semester or spending some time with the new staff, giving them a chance before you actually leave. And it doesn't mean you hate them. It just might mean it's not the right fit, or you want to do something else, or it didn't completely, it's just not great vibes. I don't know. And then in some cases it's a payday, in some cases it's playing time. You give the staff a chance. You get to see where you stand with them, whether it works, whether you're a fit, where you are on the depth chart. There are lots of reasons to stay through spring. It actually makes academically and even transfer-wise probably more sense than leaving in January.
Next one from the Hawk. Do you still think and believe in Jonathan Smith is the right coach for MSU football with all the guys who have recently jumped into the portal?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with that. And obviously, if in year 4, if guys are jumping in the portal who are impact players and they're winning 5 games because of it, then that's a different conversation. This is a transition year.
Hot seat, Jonathan Smith.
This was going to happen.
On the hot seat already. And lastly, Jake Hawkins and Corey Ostrom and apparently 30 other people. Scale of 1 to 10. Do you think Tom Izzo is done with the portal and won't get a center?
I'd put it at 3.5. The chance that they add somebody else. 3.5. I'm going to stick that number.
What? 100?
10. Scale of 1 to 10. He said right here. Scale of 1 to 10. Yeah. So 3.5.
Okay.
35%.
Oh.
Yeah, does that work?
Yeah. Have a great weekend, I guess.
We appreciate all of you. Thank you for producing our show. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your orders for strawberry cheesecake donuts or anything. Or swing by either location on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Great place for any occasion this weekend. Swing on by. You'll love the experience. You'll love the menu. Great date night. We appreciate our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. And thank you to Pure Options. Go to pureoptions.com. Let them know we sent you when you stop on by. We'll be back Monday. Some hot takes. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.